What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to figure out which is the best cinema camera between the Sony FX30, FX3 and FX6. Now each of these cameras are absolutely incredible, but not each one will be right for you. So in this video I'm going to break down each one of these cameras and give my opinion about them. Now I'm not going to go super in depth about each of these cameras, but I will cover the most important subjects, all the stuff that you need to know. Well, my name is Jonah August. I'm a wedding filmmaker based in Vancouver, Canada, and I'm happy that you're here. So let's jump right into this. First, talking about the body designs of these cameras. The FX30 and the FX3 have pretty much the exact same body. They both weigh around 640 grams, which is extremely light. The FX6, on the other hand, has a significantly different body design. It still is pretty light at 890 grams, which is about 2 pounds. This is extremely light for a cinema camera. The first time I grabbed this and picked it up, I was absolutely shocked at how light it was. They all have a great assortment of custom function buttons littered all around the cameras, but the FX6 does take the cake when it comes to custom functions. Literally almost everything you could possibly think of is clearly laid out on this camera. There are sufficient tally lights on all three of these cameras to make sure that you're recording when you want to be. All cameras come with dual SD and CF Express Type A card slots. This is great so you can easily record at all bit depths and bit rates. All cameras share Sony's E-mount. There are 1/4 inch mounting points on all of these cameras for mounting various accessories and cages. All cameras have built-in fans for heat dissipation. The FX30 and FX3 share the same NPF FZ100 battery, while the FX6 uses the bigger BPU35 batteries. Now the top panels are quite different between these cameras. They both sport 2 XLR inputs, but the FX6's handle has additional camera control functions. I think this is a huge win for the FX6, and it's worth mentioning that the FX6 handle is way more robust. I've actually heard of the FX3 and FX30's handle breaking because it was supporting too much weight. The FX6 has the best LCD screen between these three cameras at 2.76 million dots, and it's 3.5 inches compared to the FX3 and FX30 screen at 3 inches. The FX30 isn't too far behind with 2.36 million dots, while the FX3 has the worst screen of 1.44 million dots. The FX30 is the only camera out of the three that has a different sensor. It has an APS-C sensor, while the FX3 and FX6 have full frame sensors. The FX30 has 26 effective megapixels, while the FX30 and FX6 have 10.2 effective megapixels. This difference gives the FX3 and FX6 an advantage when it comes to low light, but we'll talk more about that later. The APS-C sensor on the FX30 gives a 1.5 times crop when comparing to full frame sensors. The FX30 and FX3 both have 5-axis in-body image stabilization, while the FX6 doesn't have any. This is a great advantage when filming handheld. You get that extra bit of stability. Now I want to show you some comparison shots between these three cameras so that you can see the difference in quality for yourself. All cameras can pretty much internally film the same resolutions up to UHD 4K 120 frames per second, but the FX30 has a crop factor of 1.6 and the FX3 of 1.1 times. The FX6 also has a 10% crop when filming in 4K 120 frames per second. The FX6 has a slight advantage of being able to record DCI 4K up to 60 frames per second. Let's look at these cameras side by side with the same resolution, focal length, and settings. What do you think about the quality between these three? Let me know in the comment section below. When it comes to autofocus, pretty much all these cameras are perfect. Sony dominates the autofocus game. I've had no issues with focusing at all. Regarding dynamic range, the FX30 is the worst at 14 stops, while the FX3 and FX6 have 15 stops of dynamic range, but even with 14, it's incredible. These cameras have so much flexibility. My favorite profile that all these cameras come with is S-Log3. This gives you the most flexibility in post. They also come equipped with Sony's S-Cinetone profile. This is the cinema profile that comes straight out of the camera, looks really good, and doesn't require much grading. Now I want to talk about Lowlight. This could be the deciding factor as to which camera you will buy. The FX3 and FX6 absolutely destroy most cameras out there when it comes to Lowlight. Both of these have their high base ISO at 12,800. This allows you to film with little light available and still produces a nice clean image. The FX30 is still pretty good in Lowlight. It has its high base ISO at 2,500. If you have enough available light, the FX30 will perform really well, but the FX3 and FX6 absolutely crush it in low light. The menu system on the Sony FX30 and FX3 is the same. It's a mixture of the Sony Alpha and Cine menu style. And the FX6 has a totally different menu system. It's very cinema focused and is really easy to use. The FX6 is the only camera of the three that has waveforms. This makes it a superior cinema camera for many, but all cameras share other video specific features such as focus peaking and zebras. Notably, it also has shutter angle, which is a huge win. I really wish the FX30 and FX3 had this. I really don't understand why they don't. I hope Sony adds it in future firmware. So this makes it a superior camera in that regard as well. Now the FX30 and FX6 both have breathing compensation. This is a unique and really helpful feature. The FX3 lacks this. The FX6 is the only camera with internal ND filters. It also has a sweet feature where you can use it as a variable ND. I wish the FX30 and FX3 had internal NDs. I understand why they don't because they're such small cameras. So it's really nice that this is included with the FX6. Now, a massive deciding factor as to which camera is the right one for you will come down to price. The difference in price between these cameras is quite significant. The FX30 is $1,800 US, while the FX3 is $39 and the FX6 is $6,000. I do believe these cameras are priced accurately according to their capabilities and specs, but depending on your line of work, even if you do have a bigger budget, one of the cheaper options may be more suitable for you. Now, deciding which camera is right for you may be easier than you think. Now, I've gone through the motions before trying to find which is the best camera for me, going through all the specs and whatever, but what it does come down to, which camera is best suitable for your line of work. Though you could use any of these cameras in any line of work, the technology is great, the quality is awesome. I do think each one is specific for a different type of work. If you're a content creator, influencer, vlogger, travel filmmaker, I think the FX30 is the best for you. Of course, you can use this camera for client work, but it is small, has an APS-C size sensor, which means you can buy the cheaper APS-C lenses for it. If you're on a budget, this camera is definitely the right one for you. The FX3 is my preferred camera. For my line of work, I usually do weddings, so this is the perfect lightweight setup with incredible specs. I love how small this camera is. It's super lightweight, and weddings are super fast paced and you don't really always have those times to faff around with your settings. So being able to capture what's going on quickly, I think this camera is perfect for that. This camera is also great for most other types of videography as well. When I think of what the FX6 is best suited for, immediately what comes to mind is documentaries. This is the perfect documentary camera. It has all the cinema features to work quickly and efficiently. This camera is definitely overkill for weddings, but if you're doing commercial work, brand work, this camera is a perfect fit for you. Well, that is everything for today, guys. I hope that answered some of your questions. If you have any other ones at all, let me know in the comments section below. I didn't cover absolutely everything about these cameras. I do believe each one deserves its own extensive review, but I hope that this video was helpful. I've linked these cameras and all my favorite gear in the description below. Make sure that you like and subscribe, turn notifications on, and I'll see you in the next video.